Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here, and in this video we're going to visit the Citadel Pueblo, which is part of Wupatki National Monument in Arizona. But you can't just go visit it, you gotta understand some background before, because this is a strange, crazy, volatile, and explosive area with what happened around that time. So Wupatki in and of itself, the whole region had people living there since the archaic time. For thousands of years, people have been living there. But then what we see is in 1040 AD, there's an influx of people starting to come into this area. We're not sure why, but Wupatki itself begins to grow. And Wupatki was this great pueblo that grew and grew and grew. But then some things happened. 1054 AD, there was a supernova. The Crab Nebula exploded in the sky. We have verified written documents of this happening from Japan, China, and the Arabic texts. So we know that this happened. We know it could be seen day or night for weeks, and then in the night sky for months. Now today you can still see it kind of like as a star. You can look at it with a telescope. But this would have been huge. This would have been a massive upheaval to your worldview if you're seeing this thing as bright as the moon day or night in the sky. Then 1066 AD, Halley's Comet passed through. Looks like a big old snake, and that's going for like a month through the sky. That's got to add some more upheaval, signs in the heavens. Then finally, most important of all, in 1085 AD, Sunset Crater blew up. Sunset Crater is a volcano just a few miles from the community of Wupatki. This was right next to people. People were living in the area at the time. Now, it looks like what happened was at first the people would have experienced earthquakes, some tremors, and then you would start to have fissures coming up from underneath the ground where you would have steam and smoke coming up from underground. And it seems as though the people took this as a sign to get out of the area, and they did. Then the volcano blew up. This eruption would have been seen for hundreds of miles around. There's an ash field that goes for hundreds of miles. This is crazy. There's nothing like this in the Puebloan thinking. There's nothing like this in the understanding, in the pantheon and the religious beliefs. There's nothing. This is just something totally new, totally crazy and otherworldly. Clearly it's a sign. Clearly this was a big deal. The volcano itself was very volatile, very explosive, and it left, again, an ash field for hundreds of miles, and it left lava flows, some of which are 100 feet deep. I went to the Sunset Crater and saw it, and it's incredible. It's otherworldly. It looks like you're on the moon. So after this happened, though, what we see is there was a quick comeback where people came back into the area fairly quickly afterwards, and the reason is because all this volcanic ash made a nutrient-dense soil that, even more important than being nutrient-dense, was very good at retaining water. And that high retentive state is a gold mine here in the Southwest. Because in the Southwest, we find that most of the dirts and soils and sands of the desert, when it rains, water just washes through, so it's hard to irrigate crops. So now you had this incredibly fertile, highly productive region that could support and sustain a larger population. So again, there already was a lot of people coming into Wupatki in 1040 AD, but after the volcano erupted within a few years, by 1085 AD, by 1090, you had this big, huge influx into Wupatki itself. Wupatki became a Chacoan outlier, and if you watch my videos, you know how big a deal Chaco Canyon was, and all the great house communities there, and the trade they had going all the way up north and all the way down to Mexico. Massive trade that even brought in macaws. Well, Wupatki itself became a Chacoan outlier. It was a seat of power regionally, and even included a Mesoamerican style ball court. So this was a happening place. We found the remains of 53 macaws at this site, which is unheard of. Outside of Chaco Canyon, you never hear of anything like that. That many macaws in one place, live macaws brought up from Mexico, incredible. This place was so big, so Wupatki was a Chacoan outlier community, but Wupatki itself began to have Wupatkian outlier communities locally. So on top of mesas or down below, little pueblos and little villages started popping up, little hamlets and we're going to visit one of these. Now, the site we're going to visit is really interesting because down below, it has a pretty typical pueblo, but no kiva, and it has T doors, again, showing an affiliation as being a Chacoan outlier, saying it's somehow connected to Chaco. But on top of this volcanic butte, there is a citadel. And in the center of this citadel, there's what would have been a big old tower. So this is a very interesting community. We're going to go and see it firsthand. I'm going to talk along the way, and some of the time we're just going to listen to music and let you experience it for yourself. So thank you for coming along, and let's go ahead and look at the Citadel ruins and Pueblo as part of Wupatki National Monument. I'm here today at Wupatki National Monument, and behind me I got Hilltop Pueblo, a hilltop ruin. Now this is really neat. We're going to go see it because there is a pueblo on the ground, but then up above there's also masonry on this. This is a volcanic butte. So this is a lava flow that came out in ancient times, and so it just has kind of like a flat mesa on top. But they've done structures around the edge. So there was structures on top as well as the village below. Now this whole area is volcanic, and there's a volcano just down the road, Sunset Crater, that exploded and drove the people out. But not long after, the people came back because all that volcanic ash made a nutrient-dense slurry. Volcanic ash mixed with water and mud that would retain water. This is a very desolate area where water just slips through the sand. It made this a much better place to grow, and there was a huge influx of people who came here. Now, Wupatki itself is the hub. It's the main place where you even had trade coming up from Mexico and going all the way up to Chaco Canyon. This whole area was a Chaco outlier community. So it was kind of loosely governed, we believe, by the Chacoan system. And people follow the Chacoan roads going from here to Utah, further south in Arizona, all the way to Mexico, and all the way over to New Mexico and Colorado. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to check this out and see it up close. So there's two pueblos. This one we're going to go see on the bottom is Nalakihu. And then up on top is the Citadel. We're going to check them both out. The masonry. This is really good masonry. But again, this is what you normally see with small pueblos, 8 rooms in a kiva, 10 rooms in a kiva. But I don't know that there's a kiva here. But you have the addition of volcanic rock. There's a vent down below there, a little hole. And a doorway there going into that room. But not seeing any T doors and not seeing any kivas. There we go. Here's what's left of a T door. T doors started out at Chaco Canyon, and they spread. I've done other videos talking specifically about T doors and what they meant. This is a very faint one. If you can see, there's sort of a lip. These walls would have gone up much higher, and you would have had a roof over the top. But this T door, these barely go in. Look at these. Look at the width of my hand. This is nothing. So people who say, this is so that you can get a bundle of firewood in. You got to think this through. Like me, I can barely walk through this. It's a statement. It's something much more than just something functional. You could put like a little lantern or an offering or something like this on each side. But again, at Pakime, we see T-door apertures as freestanding altars that aren't even doors. So again, look how narrow this is. This is not about getting a bundle of firewood in and out. Some people suggest because macaws were kept here, they say this is so the macaws can fly in and out, but it just doesn't track. I've raised macaws. I've bred and flown and trained macaws. You don't need this. A macaw will just pull its wings in, and this little lip is not helping or harming a macaw in any way. It's a beautiful pueblo. So at Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, which is kind of the hub, there's the haves and the have-nots. Chaco Canyon, originally it seems that there were Puebloan people living there, and then people coming up from Mexico, likely Toltecs or, post-Toltec people coming up, came and brought a lot of their systems up with them. And they brought amazing things, and they brought terrible ideas as well, all the way up to including slave trades and cannibalism. That's where you see the birth of the T-door aperture. And that's where you start to see a class division system, which you had in Mexico. In Mexico, you had royals, you had elites, you had artisans, you had warrior classes, you had all priestly classes, all these different things that weren't necessarily part of the Puebloan pantheon. But when this happened here, what you see at Chaco is you see haves and have-nots. So the have-nots were on the south side of the river in Chaco Canyon, and there's just these pueblos, just like we're seeing now. 8 rooms in a kiva, 10 rooms in a kiva, 12 rooms in a kiva. Well, and I'm not seeing a kiva here. There might be one. There's a lot of structures over here that are not together, but I'm not seeing a kiva, but I am seeing a T-door aperture. And that aperture is pointing outward, which is saying, hey, towards the rising sun. And guess what? If you are coming towards our village, you understand we are associated with whatever the T represents. But I want to see the citadel up on top, and we're going to take a look. But again, the shape of this pueblo is so similar to the have-nots in Chaco Canyon. But again, after the volcano erupted, after Sunset Crater erupted, there was this big influx of people who came into this area. So it's going to be interesting to take a look up top. So across the way here, this is showing, you can see these troughs that were carved into the side there for planting corn, just right across the way there, which is neat to know. There's tiny little echoes of the past all through here. Caution, snake habitat, not in January. You can see even from here just how well that masonry, just using the natural rocks, blends in so well. Here on top of the Citadel, it's an incredibly commanding view. And as we often have at these ancient sites, have a raven almost watching over this place. But the structure here, this is strange because I don't know if this has been excavated. This is all heaped up. These are rooms that would have had roofs on all this big old pile. This is all structure. This goes way down. As we saw below, these walls go down, 10 feet. So we're standing on top of collapsed roofs right now. And it makes me wonder if this is the Kiva. Our raven guardian here is just keeping an eye on me. He's about 10 feet away, and he's just watching. Just keeping an eye on everything. It's hard to see, but if you can see around here, including the shape, this is very much a circular structure here. This might have been a kiva, it might have been a tower structure, but even the way the plants are growing in it, based off a buildup of organics, even you can just see, you can't see this the way I'm filming. You just can't get it, but this is most definitely a circular structure. And being that this was so high, this is probably higher above the rest. So you had rooftops here, and this probably went up even higher as a tower structure. Hey, brother. Ah! Love ravens. This gives you an idea just how high we are. Again, we're on 10 feet of wall. If we look at it from this side, hopefully you can get a sense of this. There was very intentional masonry built up. So what looks on top to just be what's left of a pueblo, this was much taller. And there's some very good masonry here. I don't like to be too metaphysical about things, but this guy right here, it is like he's watching over me. In national parks, ravens are very, very, very smart. They become very acclimated to people and they learn, hey, if I just hang around people, they're going to give me food. But he's not coming towards me. He's not making sounds at me. It's like this is his place. He's just keeping an eye on things. And this time of day, it's morning, it's cold, it's been below freezing. It's barely now, just barely above freezing. He should be looking for food, but he's doing strange calls and just kind of chilling here. And again, it is sort of a metaphysical kind of worldview, but it feels like he's keeping an eye on this place and making sure that I treat it with respect, which of course I will. But it's neat having him here. At Chaco Canyon, there's a raven that, when you go to Pueblo Bonito, is always waiting there, and it's the most unique raven. If you see this guy, you can see ravens are iridescent. They have rainbow in their feathers. If you see it in the light, it's like an oil slick in a parking lot. There's this raven at Chaco Canyon that is flat, matte black, and he's always waiting there, waiting there for people, guarding Pueblo Bonito. And I feel like this raven here is guarding the Citadel at Wupatki. The overall footprint of this Citadel is absolutely huge. It actually dwarfs the Pueblo that's down below. It's hard to do it justice, but this up here, there's tons of rooms. I mean, this place is massive, and it's kind of strange. I don't know if the work has been done to show which came first, the Pueblo down below or the citadel up top. God, but yeah, I wish you could see this. Again, this right here, there's a circular structure, and based on the masonry, it looks like this was a tower. But it's not picking up in the footage. But again, all of this is built up. And you can see the Pueblo down below. Not very big compared to the citadel up here. So is this another strange case of haves and have-nots? Are the people up top here the haves, and the people down below are the have-nots? Are these totally different time periods? Yeah, right there. It's wild. But then, again, coming over to this edge, you have this commanding view. You're going to see anybody coming near for miles and miles around. Next Pueblo is over there. You can see right up top there. But again, you're going to see people 20, 30 miles out from up here. It's a very commanding view. And again, corn was grown right here. You can see how much of the masonry has fallen off. Just fallen all down below. These towers are much taller. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing the Citadel. Again, this is part of the Wupatki Chacoan outlier system. It's a beautiful site. It's not a far little hike just to get up from the main road. Definitely worth seeing. And again, seeing that tower structure in the center. I wish it was still standing, but you can still see the footprint of it. But I hope you enjoyed visiting this little site. And I hope you also check out my video on Wupatki, which was the great house that kind of ruled over this whole area. Would love to know your comments and thoughts on the site. And always remember that life is a gift. So never stop learning and never stop exploring. We'll see you next time.